People love jumping straight into a full swing rebuild as soon as they hit a couple of bad shots. But have you considered it could be something completely different causing your wayward shots out on the golf course? In this video, I'm going to explain to you the difference between technical faults and actually aim, alignment and perception, and how just tweaking those things can make you a more consistent golfer. So one of the big things people need to understand about golf and swing faults is that it's not always a technical problem. I think people are really quick to kind of be like, oh, I'm in this position and it's not quite right, I need to be over here. And actually a lot of things that are going wrong with our swing can just be from our perception and our awareness and not having really good aim when we're practicing or out on the golf course. So I think one of the easiest ways to describe this is actually using the analogy of a gun. If I had a shotgun and I wanted to shoot you, I would do it like this. I would categorically not turn around sideways and shoot it this way. And that's what makes golf so difficult. We're using our eyes in a completely different way. The perception and the way we're looking down the shot is completely different to what would be natural to be very target focused. And this is where things can really easily go wrong. So I've got a really simple drill for you to do today to just test your aim, your alignment, and see where things are going wrong and how that might link back to the technical faults you're seeing in your swing, or maybe the shot pattern that you're commonly hitting. So literally all you need is an alignment stick, and it's best if you're out on grass like this where there's no bays or no square mats that are giving you kind of a reference to the target. And all I want you to do is take this stick and just throw it in a random direction. I'll explain why afterwards. So that stick's pointing at something that I don't know what it's pointing at. And all I want you to do is go in, not from down the line, step into this stick to figure out where you think it's aiming. So just pick, like in here, I could pick a tree or something out on the horizon and just see where you think the stick is pointing. So for me, visually, it kind of looks like it's on that little round tree to the left. Let's now see if that's true or not. Actually, to be honest, that's pretty good. And that's something I've worked on a lot. In the past, I would massively aim right. And you see this really commonly with amateur golfers. And what is the big swing fault that we see people struggling with? It's hitting a slice, and that comes from a left path and an open face. Now, if you're trying to hit your shot down this stick, but you're aiming over here, which is really common to see people this far out, what would your body want to do to hit it down that stick line? Obviously, it's going to want to come over the top, move your path left to try and get the ball somewhere near that actual target. So, if there's one thing I can really get you to do that I think will help you swing massively, is to go out with a stick, do this drill, check where your alignment is, and then see how that links back to your swing fault. While you're here, I would really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. Over 80% of people who currently watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, and having a bigger subscriber number really helps in terms of what content opportunities we get and then what great videos I can bring back to you. I'm also on a big push for 20k, and we're going to be doing a giveaway when we get there. So make sure you're a subscriber so you can get involved and win those prizes. Right, back to the video. Now, obviously, that's a great drill to figure out where you're aiming and see if you have a fault, but what can you be doing when you're practicing or when you're playing to help out and to improve your awareness and to get your aim better over time? Now, the first thing is a pretty obvious one. We see tour pros doing it week in, week out, and that is just using an alignment stick to set up a little station on the ground and make sure you've got a consistent aim. Now, this just means when you're working on your swing and hitting shots, you're doing it from the same setup every time, and that's actually really important in terms of delivering a consistent swing and getting consistent shots. So this can be really simple, and actually even if you didn't have an alignment stick, you could just do this with a golf club, and all you're going to do is set a stick up parallel to the ball where you're aiming and give yourself a straight foot line to make sure your feet are aiming the same target as the golf ball. So if we use that blue flag as a target, I'll just go ahead and set this up. Good distance from the ball. Now, I think it's really important to do this as close to your toes as possible because it just makes it easier to see if there's a gap, so you can see if you're pulling one foot back or if one foot's further forward than the other. If you had it kind of up here in the middle, that wouldn't be as obvious. So there we just got ourselves a nice little station that's ensuring we're set up square to the target. We can go ahead and hit some golf shots. Now, if you're someone who doesn't normally aim straight, I'm telling you, this will feel really weird at first, but you just need to chip away at it and get used to it, even if you're just starting with like little pitch or chip shots. Now, if we really want to work on a consistent setup, we can add to this by adding in the ball position. Now, this is going to change from club to club depending on what you're using, so it's important you move this around based on what club you've got in your hands at the time. So currently I've got a 7-iron, and I would say for short to mid irons, you want the ball to be in the middle of your stance. So you can just go ahead and put a stick in the opposite way around and mark that in. Another reason I quite like this is because I think me and a lot of other golfers don't necessarily get their hands in front of the golf ball enough, and if we're using an iron, we really want it to be this way and compressing it. So here you've got a really good reference of where the handle is sitting. So you just want to make sure your hands are kind of just ahead of the golf ball. Now, once I get to 5-iron and above, I would move that another ball forward, so a little bit nearer my heel. Again, with 3-wood or hybrid, I would have that kind of one golf ball inside my heel. And then once I get to driver, it's literally on my left heel. So that just gives you a really good different reference point for where the ball should be in your setup. Now, once we've got a good setup, I think it's really good for people to understand the basics of the golf swing and how different movements or face positions cause the different shots we see out on the golf course. If you're going out and hitting a slice every time, it's really difficult to fix it if you don't know why that is. So what are the different swing movements or the different swing characteristics that cause these different bad shots? So if you struggle with a slice, what it means is you've got a swing path or a swing direction that's traveling to the left, if you're right-handed obviously. So the club's basically moving this way along that line rather than straight down the target. That's why the golf ball starts off to the left and then moves to the right. And it moves to the right because the face is open or pointing to the right. So relative to this path, the face is open. The opposite, if you struggle with a hook, would be that your swing's going really out to the right, so this way, and then your face is shut or pointing to the left. I just think it's important for people to understand that kind of basic physics so you can get your head around why the ball's going where it is. Now, after saying that, I'm going to say quite ironically, I actually struggle with a hook, but it comes from a left path and a shut face. But because I understand this theory, I can then work out what's happening with the shot. And I basically have the same swing fault that you would see of a slicer. It's basically the same pattern, but I just happen to have a strong left grip that shuts the face down, and that's why the ball goes left instead. So you can tell if it's a proper hook. If it starts right and then goes to the left, that's when it's a right path and left face. If it starts left and moves to the right, that's a left path and a right face. So wherever the ball sets off, that's where the path is pointing. Wherever it curves to, that's caused by the face. So given there's loads of slicers out there, I'm going to give you a really quick and easy drill you can do to work on trying to neutralise your swing path. And this is actually something I'm currently working on in my own swing, to move my path further to the right and get rid of that horrid left path that it just doesn't give you nice golf shots. So lots of golfers struggle with the left path because they get really narrow on the way down. There's nowhere to go. And you can see from here, if I wanted to get down to that golf ball, I kind of have to do this and get over the top and smother it. So a really simple way to get around this is just by adding more width into the backswing. So for me in the backswing, I'm feeling like my right arm is a little bit longer and more stretched out in the backswing. So I'm not getting quite as much wrist cock as I previously would be. And you can see how that's just adding more width to my swing. Now, once I get to the top, I'm really consciously trying to send my hands and my hips in a different direction. And this is really important in golf because not everything moves at the same time. And actually moving all our body parts at the same time can be a big reason why we hit slice as well. Because if we get to the top and we just send everything at once, you can see how everything's moving towards the left. So once I get to the top with that wider right arm, actually what I want to do is sit into this left side, just simply like that. At the same time, I'm pushing this arm out and straightening it. So as I'm doing that, what you should be able to see here is the club shallowing. It's coming a lot further behind me. And that means once I start to turn, I'm not getting that horrible over the top stuck position. I'm actually in a really nice position to deliver the club from the inside, get into the ball and get rid of that dreadful left path. I like this drill because it's really simple. There's a few kind of key things you have to do, but there's not an excessive amount to think about. And you can obviously work on them in bits. So it might be that you just work on this bit first and then you move to the other bits afterwards. Straight to right arm, not as much wrist break, to the top, that right arm out to the back wall or to the back of the range while the hip's going left. Now you can see how I'm really over exaggerating this in my practice swings, Obviously, it's not actually going to look like this once we're out on the golf course, but I'm really a big believer in overdoing things, especially in your practice swing, because that's how you make changes over time. You've got to really show your body something very different to then get your swing to move just a little bit, which is actually then good enough to give you like the small amount of change, which is going to give you the right shot shape out on the golf course. Now I do absolutely the identical thing with my driver, although you can see how I've moved the ball position up here. But I'm going to work on exactly the same movement because at the end of the day, I'm trying to move my path to the right with both these clubs. So if you're a slicer, first up, check where your aim is, see if that's influencing your shot pattern. Second up, give this drill a try, see how you get on.